Hi friends, I am Somar Kishore Mahato, Headmaster Manipur Swami Vivekananda High School, and I am here today with this video lecture. My purpose is to help you to understand a poem line by line by Robert Frost, and the name of the poem is Road Not Taken. You will be able to enjoy this poem along with me, and at the same time, you will be able to prepare yourself for your examination. So, let us start our poem Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. But before that, I am going to give you a little bit of an introduction about Robert Frost as a poet and his nature of writing poetry. Robert Frost is one of the best loved American poets, and he was the only American poet who wins Pulitzer Prize for Poetry for 4 times. And he was the only person who was invited to recite a poem in President's inauguration of John F. Kennedy. And all this suggests that how he was loved by the American people for his poetry. Robert Frost was born and brought up in the modern complexities of life. But he did not follow the same method as the modern poet like T.S. Eliot, who presented the complexities of our life, the disintegration of our individual self, or the alienation of individual from his community and other people. All these subjects are presented by T.S. Eliot in a very different way, quite one can say, quite opposite way of Robert Frost. Robert Frost is simple and traditional. He is awfully simple, and one can quite astonish how one can be so simple when one is born and brought up with such difficult, critical period of time. The life and crisis of our life is so critical, and if one experiences such crisis in life, how one can be so simple? And simplicity is fear striking. One can become surprised to see that in spite of these difficult, critical periods of life in which Robert Frost passes through, he came to be so simple in the presentation of the situation of our life. To Robert Frost, poetry is an activity. It is not an entity. To Robert Frost, poetry is a way of grappling with the situations of our life. It is a kind of discovering the real universal significance of this existence. So, his poems, when one reads or listens, one can delves into the human psyche and finds an interplay of two different angles of the covert and the overt life. And in this interplay of human drama, he presented the situation so well that his poems become admirable and immortal. All readers of poetry would love to read his poem, enjoy his poem whenever there is a chance to see. Road Not Taken is a simple poem of 20 lines. This poem is divided into five stanzas. Divided into four stanzas of 5 lines. And in the texture of so short, small size of poems, the poets tells an individual experience that is transcended into universal realization. So there is a shifting transition from individual experience from universal significance. And this transition came just within the space of 20 lines. And here lies the greatness of the poem in presenting a situation. This poem, Road Not Taken, is divided into 4 stanzas of 5 lines. In the first stanza, the poet speaks of a journey. In a morning, and the poet moves from his house and he came to a jungle, and in that jungle there is a point where his road is diverted. It has taken a segregation. The road gets bifurcated into 2 different lines. And the poet standing on that line, when the poet came to that particular point, he thinks he wants to take a decision. As every person need to take a decision of taking one course of journey. He, as a person, as an individual, no one can take 2 ways at the same time. Poet was allured to take the both ways at the same time, but as an individual, like all other person, he is to take only one course. And in that only one path, he is to move along. And he wanted to take a decision. In the first stanza, the poet tells of his coming to this particular point and his standing there looking at the roads and his decision and his willingness to take the appropriate decision at that point of time, to take the right decision, which one would be the best suitable for him in the later life. So decision was critical and it was decisive for taking the course of his life so that he can reach to his destination with ease and comfort. But his difficulty in taking a choice between these two extremes is the real issue of this poem. And the first stanza tells us about his meeting of the 2 roads at the point and his inability to take a decision. And in the second stanza, he tells us about the nature of these 2 roads. Now, these 2 roads, if one is difficult, one have been totally different from the other, the taking choice would have been easier. But candidly says that 2 roads are almost similar in its allurement. And it is very difficult to say which one is better and which one is not so good. He looks at the 2 roads in order to find out whether there is any type of difference between these 2 roads, and find out the appropriate and the right path for him. But the nature of these two roads are so similar, the allurement for going in both roads came to his mind. He wanted to take the both roads at the same time. And as we have said that it is not possible for any person to move along two roads at the same time. So the nature of the second stanza tells about the nature of the two roads that the poet was allured to take both roads same time, but it was impossible. Third stanza is about taking his decision of a road. He took the second one and he tells us the reason behind taking this road. He tells that since this road, the second road was grassy, the second road was less traveled by. It is unique, and the uncommon, the uncertain infinity lies along with this road. So he wanted to discover, he wanted to move along, and even he thought that after some days he would come back and take the second road. But when he leads, when he moves along, he comes to a point and he could not come back. After some days, in the fourth stanza, he says that the decision was critical because the result that he has received out of his decision now has materialized. Now the result has come in full circle. The poet has come to know the result of his decision in the later life, and he tells that all the persons who are in confusing state of mind and wants to take a decision of taking roads in the course of the path of their life, in the course of their life, choice is very difficult, but they are to take a choice. Like his individual experience, like his individual self, perhaps the individual is to take a decision according to his own mental contour, according to his mental condition of life. So the result of that decision would come only later course of life. He would be able to understand the full significance of his decisions only after some time, only in the later course of their life. And to take two simultaneous paths of life is almost impossible. Since we are only one, an individual cannot take both roads together. One is to take decision after consideration of some time. And with this introduction, so we can sum up the whole process, this road not taken. We can see the four stanzas, all these four stanzas, the poet tells a human drama and the psychological process of taking a decision before a curve in a jungle, and the poet's taking of the decision, the rationale behind taking the decision, and the result of the decision, and what differences that has come to his life out of that decision. Namaskar. This is the first introductory portion, and in the second part, I am going to deliver line by line. Almost all words are explained in the next video. So kindly pay a listen to me, and don't forget to offer your comments, because these will be helpful for me for delivering the further videos, and in that video I will be able to improve myself further. Thank you very much for your patient hearing.